Sunday morning, I woke up to the news of the shooting of the Jews in Bondi Beach in Australia. Shooting was done, I believe, by two people who were Muslims. And that reminded me of an article that came out about a week and a half earlier. Now, it should be noted that the shooters were overpowered by another Muslim man. But this article I want to talk to you about is something that was written on the 4th of December by a Matthew Suk, and it's entitled Documents Prove Kremlin Role in Destabilizing Operations Targeting Jews and Muslims in France. So, when you have a shooting like Bondi Beach, that's a manifestation of hatred, a manifestation of tensions. And if you're a Catholic or a member of any religion, then you really know you're not supposed to hate people and you're not supposed to attack them out of hatred. And you're supposed to get along with people of other religions. And the church has said that. If you're Catholic, the Catholic Church has said that over and over in the Catechism, Nostra Aetate, and a lot of other documents by all the bishops. Okay, you're not supposed to stoke those fires of hatred and tension and dissatisfaction. You're supposed to get along with each other. So this article, when the shooting came to my attention, this article popped into my mind. And it's from Mediapart. Like I said, it's by Matthew Suk, S-U-C, 4th of December. The subtitle is French Intelligence Services Obtained Evidence that Russia's presidential office approved a plan to target both the Jewish and Muslim communities in this country, meaning France. The aim of these active measures operations is to sow division and discord within the heart of French society. So, I've talked about this before, that there's a geopolitical aspect of anti-Semitism, of Jew hatred. Well, there's also a geopolitical aspect of hating Muslims, whatever that's called. So hatred is something the Russians stoke, that Putin stokes. It's just part of his strategy. It's part of who they are. They stoke hatred and division among people. And the shooting in Bondi Beach is the latest example of the results of this worldwide stoking of tensions that the Russians are doing. And now we have evidence that the Russians are doing this in France. I'm going to read from the article. Matthew Suk writes, Russia wants France to be seen as both anti-Semitic and Islamophobic, and to ensure that French society tears itself apart. Okay, the Kremlin has decided to try to stoke hatred between the Jewish and Muslim communities by targeting each of them in turn. Evidence of this strategy came to light when a French intelligence service recently obtained internal Kremlin documents. According to a summary seen by Mediapart, these show, and that's the publication that Suk's article appeared in, according to a summary seen by Mediapart, these show how Russia's presidential office is striving to heighten tensions between these two communities on French territory by exploiting divisive debates to sow division in French society and to weaken national solidarity. Okay, that's the goal of what they do. Then it goes on and it talks about some of the active measures that go way back to the 1950s that the Russians promoted, and towards the end it talks about the Serbian Interior Minister issued a statement announcing the arrest of 11 Serbs who are suspected of having taken part in several operations in France and Germany aimed at spreading ideas, advocating and inciting hatred, discrimination, and violence based on differences. That is what the Russians are doing. Okay, identity politics serves their purpose. Spreading hatred of Jews, legitimating hatred of Jews, legitimating hatred of Muslims. It all serves the Russians. It divides Western societies. It breaks apart Western societies. It tears the fabric of society together. So now we have some hard documents from France showing the Russians are doing that in France. And I submit to you that they are doing it around the world, and they're doing it in this country. So I want to talk about some of the best or biggest carriers of this Russian message of division, and Catholics. Some Catholics, not all Catholics, but there's some Catholics that are doing this. And what happens is when these Catholic chatters get out there and start bashing Jews for whatever reason, or they attack Jews for whatever reason, Um, what you're going to see happen, even if they're just simply stressing Catholic identity, what you're seeing happen is that these polemicists get amplified. Their message gets amplified. Their hatred gets amplified. Their division gets amplified. Their identity politics gets amplified by the Russians, the troll farms, the algorithms. Okay, Russians have troll farms, which I've written about, to push these messages out there and inflame people's anger. And the algorithms are written by the tech bros. And who's the big tech bro? It's Musk. And Musk is in bed with the Russians. He's working with the Russians. So Nick Fuentes is one such person, who spreads his hatred. He says, and I paraphrase, basically, kill the Jews. The Jews have to be killed. Kevin Roberts is another guy. He promotes, Jewish hatred, and he promotes. He's more subtle about it, and he also promotes identity. Politics and a view of looking at the world that sees us and them, that does not integrate people or bring people together, but divides people. It seems to be a characteristic of people who identify as traditional Catholics. There's a book out that I just got. It's called Furious Minds. It came out, I believe, last year, and talks about Pat Buchanan, a traditional Catholic who attacked Jews. He hated Jews. So it seems to be part of the traditional Catholic or neo-trad mindset to want this division in society. Okay, others are Candace Owens. I've talked about him, or her rather. Talked about her. Yeah, I should start that rumor. Candace Owens is a man. All right, but I'm not. Okay, Candace Owens is a woman. I've talked about her on a previous show, and then I want to talk about Opus Dei, and I want to talk about a Catholic priest I knew. He was a friend, Jeff Langan. He's not a friend anymore. Again, this is a guy who has promoted or endorses these narratives against Jews. And so, what's his background? He comes from a broken family. He is a guy, who runs around with a long cassock and a short haircut and Escriva glasses because he's a member of Opus Dei. Opus Dei, and so when you see a priest with a cassock and with those glasses, you just know that they are with the tyrants. They are with the people who want to subvert the liberal order, and so Langan is one of them. Like I said, he was a friend. He's not a friend anymore. He has promoted a number of pro-Russian narratives, and that has been the false narratives, the demoralizing ones that the West is corrupt. He's done this on social media that the West is corrupt, that NATO and Ukraine were going to attack Russia. There was a show up on YouTube. It's gone now. I don't know where it is. And I asked him about all this once. And I said, "What do you think of Putin attacking Ukraine?" He said, "Putin's just defending his country." No, he's not defending. Putin is not defending his country. He's waging and raging aggressive war against Ukraine and the world. I mean, Langan is carrying water for a very evil man and for the Russians. And then he wrote an article that appeared in a magazine by the name of Culture Wars back in February, March of 2021, which I came across some time ago. And that article, in it, he says that he is critiquing or commenting on some statements made by Robert Sungenis, another disaffected traditional Catholic, I suppose, with his own shtick. And this is what he writes. He says, and this is a repeat of a lot of Russian disinformation narratives, which he attributes to Sungenis, but there also appears to be some polemics in here. Quote, Sungenis lists 3 pages worth of examples of emerging Christian practice of Russia. This is nonsense. Russia's not a Christian nation, but I want you to hear the lies. If Russia has not yet started promoting missionary activities to the now decadent West and other parts of the world, she certainly is building up a Christian foundation from which such activity could arise. Well, a year later, they invaded Ukraine against Christian morality. And again, I have not seen Langan retract anything he said. I haven't seen him retract any of this. I confronted him on this, and the line went dead after that. Let's see. Sungenis also presents what for me were some surprising statistics, which in a previous show I have debunked. To begin, abortion rates are much higher in the Middle East, Central Asia, China, Latin America, and Africa than they are in Russia. In addition, LGBTQ propaganda and laws approving gay marriage are part and parcel of almost every formerly Christian country of the West. But the Russians have preserved the much more humanly wholesome and Christian teachings on matters related to the family. Well, what you got in Russia is you got the men beating the crap out of the women and the women having abortions. And I mean, this is from a number of different people. And so that's why the abortion rate in Russia is so much higher than it is in the United States. And I think even higher than in other countries. But the Russians have preserved the much more humanly wholesome and Christian teachings on matters related to the family. More Russians now go to church on average than almost every Western European country. What? In short, if part of the message of Fatima is that the conservation of Russia, and there's always this Fatima thing, there's always this quasi mystical, Catholic thing that's supposed to lend legitimacy to what they're saying, which just really plays to people's emotions and superstitions. Then if part of the message of Fatima is that after the conservation of Russia, she would give up her communist ways and then be part of the solution to the world's materialist atheist problems, then the preponderance of evidence points in the direction that by using that heaven has accepted the imperfect consecrations of popes, beginning with those of Pope Pius XII. The same cannot be said for either the West in general or for the United States in particular. And let me note that my understanding is the United States has been consecrated to the Blessed Virgin Mary at least 3 times, just so you know. As one independent confirmation of this fact, on January 31st, 2021, during episode 360 of the 21st Century Wire podcast, Patrick Henningsen, who I have no idea who he is, noted that a stark contrast emerges when one compares perception of Russia and the United States. In 1950, Russia was perceived as materialist, atheist, anti-freedom, promoting communism. The U.S. receives God-fearing, freedom-loving, and promoting the family and do-good capitalism. Now Russia defends representative government, religious freedom, and the family, which is nonsense. This is nonsense, but this is the effect of Russian disinformation, which Langan and others don't take into account. While the U.S. imposes war, authoritarian government at home and abroad, materialism, anti-family policies, and moral degeneracy. Okay, well, this is absolute trash. And this is Russian disinformation. Langan's promoting it. And, apparently these other people are too. So at one point, I asked him, I said, I'm seeing... so these are the negative narratives he put out. At one point, I'm questioning this whole, MAGA view of the world. And I asked him a question. I say, how is it that, the Jews are to blame for everything? Oh, yeah, well, there's a reason for it, he said. And I'm paraphrasing. And he says, I'll call you and explain it to you. Well, I never got the call. Okay, that never got explained. Because you can't explain it. Okay, because it's meant to divide. Now, let's talk about Opus Dei. Opus Dei is a very troubled organization. In 2000, the biography of its founder, Escriva, was put into Russian. And of course, I'm sure that flattered Opus Dei. Opus Dei opened up a mission there in 2007. Well, if you're going to open up a mission in Russia, you're going to be vetted by the intel services. Okay? During this time, Robert Hansen, FBI agent, also a member of Opus Dei, turns everything over to the Russians and causes a great deal of harm to the United States. In the book Opus, Gareth Gore talks about Opus Dei basically being, pro-fascist, pro-authoritarian, pro-tyranny, okay? And they do have ties. If you look at Opus Dei, they do have ties that are very strong with Franco Spain, and were very supportive of Franco Spain, though they affected the transition to post-Franco Spain. So, have the Russians penetrated Opus Dei? Yes, they have. Langan told me on October 31st of last year, 2024, that he had been in touch with 2 Russian agents. He had met them at a gathering about 10 years earlier, and they had approached him, and they were sending him information. And he sent me one of their emails, and he had sent me, I think, a couple over the years, and it contains these Russian talking points. And here's one. I got one right here. Um, and it says the U.S. planning in Eurasia is rising to a level of genius. The U.S. faced the problem of an alliance if the Eurasian landmass of Euroland, Russia, and China. Integral to this alliance was its ability to be self-efficient with the GDP. The key foreign policy of the United States was to implement the Roman concept of divide and conquer, applied for nearly 400 years of England from the defeat of the Spanish Armada. That meant that Eurasia had to be divided, and 2 world wars were fought by the Anglo-Saxons under this principle. Okay, then they go on. World War II was engineered by Baron Edward de Rothschild through his stooge, Sir Winston Churchill. So these are the Russian talking points that were being given to Langan because of his Russian contacts. And he had given these to me years earlier. And I didn't understand the significance of it, but now I do. This is all part of Russian infiltration of Opus Dei. And Langan admitted on October 31st, 2024, that he was being approached by 2 Russian agents or persons or apologists. So that's more. There's more in there, more of the regular talking points. So one guy that Langan hangs around with is a guy by the name of Gene Jones. And Gene Jones is a polemicist. He has a magazine. He has a cult following. He's a storyteller. And he pushes out anti-Western, pro-Russian narratives all the time. He was a commentator on PressTV, where he regularly attacked America. It was regularly anti-American. And PressTV is owned by the Iranian government. Iranian government is not a friend of the United States. He's gone to conferences in Iran, and these conferences, according even to Langan, are basically to establish destabilization cells in America. So even by Langan, who's a fellow traveler with Jones, it is there to destabilize America. That's what I believe part of Jones' mission is. He wants to be famous too, obviously, and he wants to be rich, and he has gotten rich in writing and talking about the Jews. Now he's got a tortured background. An alcoholic father. Jones himself was an alcoholic. He's told people about it. I've written about him being a malignant narcissist. He went to St. Mary's College to teach, knowing it was feminist. It was against everything he stood for. And he set up, in my opinion, he set up a situation by which he'd get fired. And so he could become a martyr, and that could, drive viewers at the time to his site and to his writings. Then he writes. He's a storyteller. Storytellers are what? They're just good liars. That's all they are. And I can tell you that from at least one instance many years ago where he had me read one of his articles, I read that article and it just wasn't true. And I told him about it, and he never sent me another article again to read. He had a lot of misinformation in there, a lot of inflammatory rhetoric, a lot of statements that were just not supported. Okay, he knew, he figured out that if he wrote about the Jews, and he was told by a number of different people that if he wrote about Jews, he'd have an audience. And so, at least one person told him that for sure. And so he writes about Jews. So basically, what's Jones's position on Jews? One, they're inherently evil. They are the cause of the evil of the day, or all evil in the world. And this has always been the teaching of the Catholic Church. That's basically his position. Basically, the position of these Catholics who attack Jews. There are corollaries to that, of course, which are just really sickening. And these people always say, "Oh no, I don't hate Jews. I'm just telling you, what the doctrine is," which is not true. And then one thing these people always say is, "Well, Jews are attacked because of the bad things they do." Okay. So in other words, when they say that, when the Jew haters say that, what they're saying is they're saying Jews have it coming to them. I mean, none of this stuff is Catholic. None of this is proper for a society. But this is the stuff that is used to tear apart societies. And that's why the Catholic Church and others have spoken against hatred of Jews or hatred of other people in your society, and you have to build friends. And these guys are not building friends. They just want to create division, and they want to create problems in society, and that advances Russian geopolitical goals. Opus Dei is, in my view, in bed with the Russians, trying to advance Russian geopolitical goals, which include creating tyranny in the United States, a return to some, you know, traditionalist, racial, cultural society of us versus them, which gets the United States out of the world. And we're seeing this in the national security strategy to some degree, which I'll be talking about. And that's what Opus Dei does. It is there to attack the liberal order and to destroy the liberal order. And in doing that, it is going to reorder the world, and you're going to have a more dangerous, more divided world out there. I think that's all I got for now. Thank you.